you're here. Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity.
Heard and talked about, so that'll be fun.
Sounds good to me.
How many are enjoying the exploration of the 4 agreements? They're so rich, aren't they?
Absolutely. But before we do that,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
you know how that people talk about how that men don't remember things? Have you ever heard that? Well, I've got a little short story to tell you really quickly that kind of puts that to the side. There was a couple. They were out shopping for clothes and various things, and the shopping center was packed. And as the wife walked through one of the malls, she was surprised when she looked around to find that her husband was nowhere to be seen. She was quite upset because they had a lot to do. And she became so worried that she called him on her mobile phone to ask him where he was. Anybody here ever do that? Okay. You ever do that? In a quiet voice, he said, "Do you remember the jewelers we went into about 5 years ago where you fell in love with that diamond necklace that we couldn't afford at the time? And I told you that I would get it for you one day." And the wife choked up and started to cry and said, "Yes, I do remember that shop." And he replied, "Well, I'm in the bar next door." I'm not recommending that, man, all right? I'm not recommending that at all.
Oh, my.
So, the 4 agreements, we're already at the 4th one, which is really the culmination of all the various agreements that we make. How many understand that you make agreements with yourself all the time? And so it is very powerful when you make an agreement that is a high vibe, right? And that's what this 4th one really is. In Ecclesiastes 9:10, it says, "Whatever you are capable of doing, do with all your might, because there's no work, thought, knowledge, or wisdom in the grave," which is where you're headed. So that's a little stark, right? That's a little truthfulness for you this morning. So this final agreement, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, so does everyone remember what the first agreement was? Be impeccable with your word. And the second one? Oh, good. Don't take anything personally. Last week's, the third one?
Don't make
assume
assumptions.
anything. Don't make assumptions. And this one is?
Always do your best. Always do your best. Right? This is very powerful.
Yeah. It's really the one that allows the other 3 to become ingrained habits. Mm-hmm. Because that's really what we're talking about doing. We're talking about developing a new set of habits.
Yeah.
Right? A new practice, a new way of being.
Yeah. And it's all about practice, Nobody here, when you learn a new job or a new skill, you don't get it right away. It takes time to grow into things. I remember when I first became a minister and gave my first talk, you wouldn't have wanted to be there. All right? I wasn't really there. I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally. So it's practice.
It is, and I think it's also important to throw in here at this point that this is not about perfection.
Yeah.
It's not about being perfect all the time. It is about taking these things, though, and practicing them to the point that we become masters of them.
Right.
Doesn't mean we're masters of them right off the bat, but that's our goal in all of our practices, right? To master those things so that they just become second nature to us, so that when the crap does hit the fan in our lives, we're right there with our unity principles and the tools in our bag that we know to use.
Yeah.
because it will happen.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens, right?
Life happens.
And so you want to be practiced in these things.
It's just simply the idea of doing your best in whatever circumstances you find yourself in. Doing your best in whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah.
Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Right? Isn't that good? So whatever happens, I choose to do my best. Not what someone else says is best for me, right? It is what I believe is best. And there is no judgment with these agreements. It is actually self-evaluation, a review of how you're doing. Ask the person next to you, say, how you doing? How you doing? All right? That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
How are you doing?
So, where do you want to put your powerful focus? This is what we're talking about. When you choose to put your powerful focus, your intention upon something, then it becomes a thing. It becomes manifest. It becomes something in your life when you put your powerful focus on it. So when you can choose what you're focusing on, with the agreements that you make with yourself, then you're lifting yourself into a higher vibration, and you get to dance with the angels. How many want to dance with the angels? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Let's ascend a little bit this morning. How about it? So, doing your best means that you're fully embracing your life. They're fully embracing your life. You are focused in the now and are using your gift, talents, and abilities for the highest good possible. Somebody say, yay, rah.
So I want to step back for a moment with
Okay.
that idea of judgment. On this, because we were having this conversation the other day, on this particular one, it is not fair for me to look at someone and judge about whether they're doing the best they can do or not.
Right, yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't know their experiences. I don't know the level of where they're at. I don't know what the best they can do is. And I think that's one of the easiest ones to fall into, is to look at someone and say, well, if they would just do X, Y, Z, or if they just... We don't know
Yeah.
if someone is doing the best that they can do. So it's really important to not step into judgment with people in this arena.
Yeah. Well, so what does it mean to do the best? To do your best? Well, it is the action you take to be faithful to your agreements with yourself. No more, no less. Right? No more, no less. Just being faithful to the agreements that you've made with yourself. Your best is always changing. Right? Everything is alive and will continually come and go and flow and change.
How many of you do better and are better today than you were 10 years ago?
Yeah. How many
10
are
days
worse?
ago.
No, I'm just,
Right?
just kidding.
We're always getting better.
Because sometimes your best is high quality, really good quality, and other times, not so much. Right? Have you noticed that about yourself sometimes? So your best is always changing. Now, you may be a morning person. I'm a morning person. I love the morning. I love getting up in the morning, and I'm creative. It's when I work on notes and like I write songs and I pray and I meditate in the mornings, because that's when I'm keyed in. You know, I'm just really in it. I'm not totally awake, and I'm not totally asleep. I'm in that in-between state, you know, which is a beautiful space to be in. And so when you rise, for some people, morning people, you shine, you know. But then at nighttime, it's like, where's the bed, right? Oh, you've got this thing to do. I don't want to do that, you know. And it just really depends. You may be a night person. You know, there have been times in my life that I was a night person where I got my days and nights mixed up, you know. Yeah. And you know, it's just like, man, I'm just working through the night and doing things and having fun, you know, and it's great. So it just really depends on you. How many know there's no right or wrong in any of this kind of thing that we're talking about here, right?
I used to be a night person too. I'd stay up till, 2 o'clock in the morning doing all these creative things, and I didn't want to get up. I didn't want any responsibility that would require me to be up before 9 o'clock, right? And so now I'm just the opposite. Now that internal clock goes off anywhere.
Now you go to bed at 9 o'clock.
That's right. That internal clock goes off anywhere from 5:30 to 6:30, and unlike those folks who have to have coffee to wake up, I wake up to have coffee. It's like, oh wow, I get to wake up and have coffee and woohoo! So I'm ready to go early, which is really weird for me.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I get a lot accomplished in the mornings.
Well, these are good things to know about yourself, right? If you can go with the flow of your life rather than always fighting against it. We're always questioning ourselves and doubting ourselves and judging ourselves and, oh, why am I doing this? Why is that happening? Why, and just tell the person, just say it with me. Stop it. Just stop it, right? When those crazy thoughts come up, realize they are not you. Yeah. Right? They're not you. Yeah. You are a perfect, beautiful expression of divinity manifesting right here, right now in physical form. That's who you are. Let's take a breath of that.
I also find that I do better when I'm happy and when I'm feeling good. Yeah. When I'm feeling healthy. When I'm feeling under the weather or maybe a little blue, got the little, the mully grubbies, or I'm upset about something, I don't do nearly my best in those circumstances. Have you noticed that? You do
I've
better.
I've noticed that about you. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. That's not what you're asking. Okay,
I wasn't asking you about me. Remember, no judgment.
Just trying to help.
Yeah, I do better when I feel better. I do better when I feel better.
That's true. Yeah. I think we all do. Mm-hmm. So as you build the habit of these 4 agreements, let's say it together, habit.
Habit.
A habit means that you do it continuously. You become better, and things will become better in your life than it used to be. And the key is to regardless of the quality, regardless of how things look. And this is what people get deceived by. They're deceived by how things look right now. They're deceived by it. Oh, well, it's impossible. It can't get better. No, this can't get any better. Well, that's an agreement you're making with yourself. That's a belief structure that you have on the inside that you want to release. Don't fight it. Release it. Do you see the difference? When you're fighting against something, it means you really believe in it. That's why you fight it. So when you go, oh, well, this isn't such a big thing, and you just ignore it, let it go, let it pass on through. And then, but make a new agreement because you've got to replace that old with something new, right?
And we have to allow for other people to do that, because I was just sitting here thinking about how so many of us, I did for a long time, held my parents to this level of dysfunction that I just can't understand why they acted that way, why they raised me that way, why they were that way. Now, at this point in my life, finally I'm able to look at that and go, you know what? They were doing the best that they could. They were doing the best they could with the understanding and the education and all of those things that they had at the time. But also, I look back on it, and I have shared before this heavy relationship burden I carried with my mother because of all these expectations about how a mother should be. And I look back on it and I realize she was living in an abusive situation. She was really busy trying to take care of her own sanity, her own mental health, her own well-being. Yeah. And, God love her. She did the best she could. So we have to extend that grace to other people in our lives. When we think they're not doing the best they can, we don't know what's going on for them. So just being able to allow them some forgiveness and some grace. I just wanted to throw that in there.
And when you come to that, that's a sign that you have really forgiven and let go. That's a good sign that you've been able to let it go. Right? Now, don't judge yourself because you're in the middle of it and you're still like a little, Don't, just, okay, I am where I am. I'm doing what I'm doing. Isness is your business, right? So just continue to release and work it through because it will begin to dissolve after a while. It's a beautiful thing when you see that happen. Talk among you talk for a minute while I take a drink.
Yeah, because if you're too hard on yourself, you'll spend a lot of your energy just on the self-recrimination, the self-judgment and the flogging of yourself. You'll spend all that energy on that as opposed to advancing further into being able to do your best. You'll just have this energy and you'll never feel like you're enough. You'll never feel happy and healthy and well enough that you can do your best.
Yeah.
So it's really important. Don't be so hard on yourself. And really, as much as you can, practice not being so hard on other people.
Yeah.
I heard that. That's a big one, isn't it? We're really hard on people. We really are.
That's because we're hard on ourselves.
That's because we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And when you're hard on yourself, you're depleting all that energy, but you're also, you're depleting your body, you're stressing out your adrenals. It's just not a healthy way to.
Well, you're going against yourself, and so therefore, because you're fighting yourself, you never really accomplish the goals that you set out for yourself. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Because we create our own blockages in our lives, and that's so important. So when somebody points out a block in my life, I say, thank you so much, Leah, for telling me about that. I really appreciate it, because I want to let that go,
That's all going on up here, right? It doesn't come out here when that happens, but it's all going on up here, right?
Maybe.
No, yeah.
So whatever the circumstances, always do your best, whether you're sick or tired. Just by doing your best, you can't judge yourself because you're doing your best, right? If you're doing your best, you don't need to judge. It means that you're guilt-free. Say it with me, guilt-free.
Guilt-free.
Don't you love to eat when it's guilt-free?
Yeah.
And keeps you from blaming others and being hypercritical of yourself. And you start to break that spell of subconscious programming that you've been under most of your life probably, right? Mm-hmm. You start breaking the spell, breaking through it. Then you start seeing more clearly and you start understanding. You get a little wisdom. You say, ooh, this is what's happening here. You want to tell the story?
Oh. A student asks his teacher, if I meditate for 4 hours a day, how long will it take me to transcend? Teacher responded, if you meditate 4 hours a day, perhaps you will transcend in 10 years. Student, thinking he could do better, says, what if I meditated for 8 hours a day? How long would it take to transcend? And the teacher said, if you meditate for 8 hours a day, perhaps you will transcend in 20 years. And the student said, but why will it take longer if I meditate more? And the teacher said, you're not here to sacrifice your joy and your life. You're here to live, to be happy, and to love. If you can do your best in a 1-hour meditation, then doing 8 will just make you tired. You'll miss the point, and life will be a drudgery. Ooh.
Good story, huh? So doing more is not always better, right? Let's say it together. It's quality.
Quality.
It's quality that we're after.
Quality.
You know, a quality spiritual practice changes everything. Quality, right?
Yeah.
It's, everything. Relationships. What do you want in relationships? You want quality. Do you want a whole bunch of relationships, or do you just want quality, right? Now, you can have a quality relationship with a lot of people. You can. But it depends upon you and your integrity and your way of being, right?
Yeah. It's important to pursue, your spiritual path. My dad had this great thing he used to tell us long, long ago when we were in the fundamentalist church. He would say, "You're so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good." Think about it. This idea back to if you're just in that effort to transcend this life, then you're not engaged in this life and you're not getting the juice out of this life. And that's what you're here to do. You're here to transcend the circumstances, right? To rise above conflicts and those kinds of things. But if you transcend to the point where you're not here, where you don't need to be here anymore,
Then
right?
what are you doing here?
Then
Right,
it's
yeah.
like this
This
right
is,
here.
This is the
This
whole
is the
thing.
stuff.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right now. This is it. Welcome to life.
Yeah.
Right here it is.
Yeah.
So when you do your best, when you fully embrace it, when you fully embrace life, because you give your best self to your family.
Yeah.
You give your best self to your friends. You give your best self to your community. Am I doing
You're sure. While at the same time fully embracing your spiritual
Yeah.
side, right? We are these unique beings in that we have this human experience while at the same time having this spiritual experience.
And you become more.
And we
I'm sorry.
both, no, I was just going to say, and we live out both of those. Both of those. It's important to live in both of those realms.
Well, the idea of transcendent, being transcendent, kind of is like being transparent. The more your spiritual practice evolves, then the more people can see into you and see through you. Because there's no hidden agendas. Oh, when you meet people, there's nothing hidden there that you're trying to get from people, Because if you're always trying to get something from somebody, everywhere you go, what happens? People, they are repelled by that energy, right? So you want to learn to just be with people, right? To show up as your true, authentic self. So, and you become transcendent. And you start to transcend all those little things that used to bother you. You realize they really are small things. They're small potatoes. But they're mountains because they're standing in the way. But when you see what they really are, then they kind of shrink after a while. See, happiness comes from action. Doing your best is taking the action because you love it. Why do we do all these things that we don't love doing, that we don't enjoy doing, that we don't like doing? It's because we're expecting a reward. Well, if I do this, then somebody somewhere is going to reward me for it, right? There's a lot of that we get taught.
Heralds back to the first agreement, being impeccable with your word.
Yeah.
Let your yes be yes and your no be no. If it's not something that you want to do that's going to bring you joy, that you're going to complain about doing, then say no. Be impeccable with your word.
Yeah.
Say no.
And if you don't enjoy acting on your highest joy, you will never do your true best. See, it's so hard to convince people that God or the divine divinity is pure love and joy and peace. And when you follow that, when you follow God, when you follow joy, when you follow peace, when you follow love, you're living that transcendent experience. You're following your highest joy. You're raising your vibration. You're changing the atoms and the molecules all around you because your perception has changed. You have changed. And your intention is more straightforward and more powerful, right? Because when you speak, you mean what you say. And you don't assume anything. And you don't take anything personal, right? Sorry. All right? You don't take things personally. I don't need to do that, right? That's just a waste of my time. You understand what I'm talking about? Taking things personal. But they really offended me, so I'm going to be upset about it for the next 20 years. And then maybe I'll forget. All right?
While they go on and live their best life and never even have a clue that,
Most of the people that I have had problems with, that I was mad at, that I was upset about, they aren't even thinking about me. I'm not even on their mind. I'm not even on their radar. It was a happening, something that happened. They said it, they did it, whatever ugly thing it was. And then they went on with their life, and I was stuck in the hole, in the mud. And just, why do we do that to ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't work for a paycheck. Live and work from your love and your joy. Some people just working for the weekend, Can't wait for the weekend. When work becomes a chore, it leads to suffering. When work becomes a chore, it leads to more suffering. Don't do it because you have to. Do it because you choose to. Don't ever take and give the power away, your power of choice. I am choosing to be in this situation. I'm choosing to be in this job. I'm choosing to be in this life here and now. And that's the way it is until it changes, right? And then I'll choose something different because I'm learning how to respond with the way things work. And you realize after a while, it's like a little dance that you're doing with life. You're just kind of, you can do a waltz, where you just kind of waltz. And, sometimes life gets fast and you're doing the foxtrot, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know much about dancing other than doing what I do myself, right? How many have your own style of dancing? Called freestyle. Freestyle, yeah. How many know that's okay? I'm choosing to do this, yes. See, most people are trying to escape their lives rather than living and appreciating their lives. Yeah. So if you don't like your life, then you don't like who you are because it's related. Rewards will come to you in life, but don't be too attached to the reward. Because maybe you're a famous actor, and you go on stage and they're calling your name and you're in all the papers and the pictures are everywhere. This movie that you just, did is so wonderful. And they say, yes, here is your Oscar. You have arrived. And then 5 minutes later, it's over. It's over, right? So it's, it was nice, it was great, but then you live the rest of your life, putting it on the shelf and, It's like trying to remember, oh, yeah, I'm an Oscar winner. I'm really something. Yeah, well, is that life? No, so don't live for the reward, you know?
It's so important to remember that the circumstance of your life is not always going to be the same. It changes, right? It's just a chapter in your book. It's not your entire book. When we get in a situation that we don't like, that doesn't work for us, we tend to start thinking, oh my God, the rest of my life is going to be like this. My life is over. I got to get out of this, yada, yada, yada. It is a chapter. A chapter. Does anyone's life look the way it did 10 years ago?
No. It's constantly changing, isn't it?
It's a
Absolutely.
chapter. When things come up that you don't, you don't like your life, there's something going on and you don't like this, just recognize that you weather through it. You do what you need to do to get on the other side of it because it's just a chapter. Now, the chapter can be as long or as short as you wish for it to be, depending on how you choose to traverse through that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just a short book. It won't always, and this is both if your life is looking really good or if you've got some challenges. Either way, it's not always going to look this way. It's going to change. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Ruiz, in the book, he says, if we like what we do, we will always do our best. Then we really are enjoying life. We are having fun, and we won't get so bored and frustrated. Where does the boredom come? It's because I'm not fully engaged. I'm not really there. You know, are you in the relationship? Are you really in it? Are you in the ship of the relation or not? You need to ask yourself, right?
Are you in your life, or are you just running on autopilot?
There you go. Are you in the relationship with yourself? Mm-hmm. Elliot Page said, when we're growing up, there are all sorts of people telling us what to do when really what we need is space to work out who to be. I mean, you got to give yourself a little bit of psychological space, right? Mm-hmm. Give yourself some room for growth, change, mistakes, so-called. They're just choices that we make that teach us. That's all they are in reality. So doing your best is self-acceptance, and that will begin to increase your awareness of things. See, I'm no longer trying to please that critical judge in my head. I don't know if you have one. Probably, maybe. But I have had one all my life, this critical judge that lives in my head that I've been trying to please all my life. Mm-hmm. What do? You let it go. You give it up. You surrender. It's okay, I'm done with that. Mm-hmm. And this thing about pleasing other people, being a people pleaser. I grew up learning how to be the best people pleaser I could be. But what I ended up doing was giving away everything, And it's like, you talk about reward, I'd sit and I'd work on writing a song, putting a song together. And I come up with a song and I'm thinking to myself, this is actually pretty good. I think people are going to love this. So I do the song, and then somebody comes up and says, oh, that was nice, thanks. You know what I mean? So I have learned not to people please. Why am I doing it? Because it's mine to do. It's who I am. I can't not do it. I'm a creative person. I have to do it, right? And that's how you want it to be. That's what makes the most sense. So we're living for the actual joy of living. That's why I'm alive. To live in joy. To enjoy it. Whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
When you do your best for the pleasure of doing it, you are taking action because you enjoy the action. If you enjoy the action, you're putting your energy into it. You ever try to be with somebody and you're in a committee or a team or whatever, and you're working on something and they're not really in it? You ever have that happen? You work with people like that? They're not totally there. You know, they're not giving themselves. And that's because they're distracted by something. Something has taken their mind, has taken their energy away. And what happens? How many know that inaction is to be in denial of life? Inaction. Wow. So we want to act upon our joy, because the word karma is literally translated as the word action. Think about that. So the things I do enjoy, those things are the things that really count. And that's where the true freedom comes. Because I'm no longer living according to your opinions and expectations of me. I'm not even living according to my opinions and expectations. I'm just learning to be in whatever moment arises. Wow. Remember, without action on an idea, there will be no manifestation. Think about that. So what that means is when I act on my joy, when I act upon an idea, then there will be a manifestation. Right? So God is life. God is life in action, love in action, peace in action. The best way to say, I love you, God, is to live your life always doing your best. I love you, God. I invite you to take in a good, clean breath. Just allow yourself to get centered right here, right now. I am at peace with myself. I let go of all judgments and fear. And I recognize that within me I have divine potential to be the very best I can be. And I make this agreement with myself today to always do my best. To always do my best. I will bring to every situation. I'll bring to my work, my job, my career, to my family, to my community. I'll bring the joy. That part of me that wants to live, that wants to dance with life, with others, that wants to be the very best that I can be. And even though there are times when I don't feel it as strongly as others, that's okay, because I know those times come, because feelings come and they go, like the waves of the ocean. And I'm learning how to let things go and not be so serious about everything, because I know it's all temporary anyway. It's a wonderful experiment on how I could show up and live and be and experience fully and completely, embracing everybody and everything. Sure, there are things that I don't agree with, or people I don't agree with, but that's okay. Life is about the diversity. It's about all the differences that bring us joy. So who knows what the next moment holds for you? All you have to do is suit up, show up, and do your best. Do your best. In this moment right here and now, if you know of someone that you would like to hold in prayer in this moment, I invite you to bring their essence into this room here and now. You might want to call out their name or get a picture in your mind of a person, someone that you know needs prayer. And then feel yourself reaching out to them with love and sending them your best. A prayer full of love and compassion and grace. We envision prosperity, work that you love and enjoy. We see it coming to you now. You are loved unconditionally, completely. The divine is in love with you. Can you feel that? Let yourself take it in at whatever level that you can. Take some of it in. Say, yeah, I am lovable. We surround our families, our loved ones, our friends, and our spiritual community with these prayers of grace and peace, hope, understanding. May the eyes of your understanding be enlightened, my friend. May you be open to higher quality, greater good. And so, in this moment, I invite you just to take a moment and count your blessings. Offer your gratitude. What are you thankful for? Surely there's something that you can be thankful for this morning. Focus on that for a while. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, life. And so now for just a moment, let us be still and know. sure that was God calling. So in the name of all that is sacred, holy, beautiful, and good, say amen. So it is. All right. Let's take a moment just to reach and stretch. Stretch out your back a little bit. Yeah, let it just kind of open up and feeling good, feeling alert.